We've just turned the corner into a new year, stepping into the early days of 2025. The start of a new year often sparks reflection and a desire for personal growth. It's a time when many of us set New Year's resolutions aiming to make our lives more meaningful and fulfilling as we embark on this fresh chapter. Starting this Friday, January 17th, and going until Sunday, January 26th, the Manitoba Theater for Young People, in collaboration with DynamO Theater and Guilaume Doin, is presenting a show that deals with the idea of getting on that bike for another year and looking back at ourselves and our family history. Called Life Cycle, this show deals with some of the questions of life and family history, while at the same time fully engaging and entertaining audiences, both young and old. Part acrobat show, part puppetry, part circus, part magic show, Life Cycle creates a dreamy world where reality is bent and audiences are left asking, how did they do that? While viewing this visual feast for the eyes, audiences can also see the story of a man who goes on a journey of discovering his roots after being away from home for a long period of time. This is a show that is entertaining and thought-provoking on many levels and is sure to captivate both children and parents. And joining me here in the Classic 107 studios to talk about MTYP's presentation of Life Cycle, I am joined by MTYP Artistic Associate Sarah Flynn. Hey, Sarah, Happy New Year. So great to have you here.
Happy New Year, Chris.
So here we are. We're in the middle of January. I got to ask, have you made any New Year's resolutions, and have you broken them? If so?
I mean, I think for the last decade or so, every year my New Year's resolution is to pet more dogs, and I have always succeeded.
I have to say, Life Cycle hits home for me. Pablo Felices Luna, the artistic director of MTYP, asks in the program right at the front, he says, if given free rein to talk about your life, what would you say? What connection would you make? And what would your stories reveal about you? I just turned 50 in the spring, and let's just say my 50-year-old eyes look back through a vastly different prism of my life than my 20-something-year-old eyes. Do you think that this is one of the things that the artistic team at MTYP felt was so compelling about Life Cycle?
I mean, I think there's so many things in Life Cycle that just draw you in, and there's something really special about this story about connecting with who you are and discovering that and connecting with your family and your history, that it's a universal experience of trying to figure out who you are in this world. And then there's some beauty in looking back on it in different parts of your life and being like, who I thought I was then is not who I think I was then anymore. And it's it's definitely an interesting story that we feel is important for young people to start talking about.
Mm-hmm. When I was prepping for the interview, I saw the trailer for Life Cycle, and it's definitely a kid's show. There's no doubt about it. It's absolutely astonishing what DynamO Theater and Guilaume Doin have brought to the stage. Can you talk about DynamO Theater and Guilaume Doin? Where do they come from? And can you talk about the mandate of the organization a bit?
Yeah, so DynamO is from Quebec. It's a Montreal company, and there's a huge theater for young audiences culture in Quebec, and so they've been creating work for young people for 40 years, and we've had them here at MTYP many times throughout our time as an organization as well, because they just create such beautiful, engaging work. And as a playwright, you tend to sit in a room with a piece of paper and write. Mm-hmm. And as a company, they don't playwright like that. They get in a room with a bunch of people and a bunch of stuff, and they make art in a very physical sense.
Right.
And so Guillaume met up with Yves, who's the artistic director at DynamO, years ago, and Guillaume was able to do all this really, really wicked, awesome stuff on a bicycle. And they were like, let's make a show. And they did, and this is it. And it's incredible.
Mm-hmm. It's utterly amazing what Guilaume Doin does on stage with this bicycle. Have you seen rehearsals? And can you talk about what audiences can expect to see him do on this bicycle?
Oh my gosh, he does all sorts of things on this bicycle, things that I didn't think were possible. It is a special bike that's like made for circus work. So, the pedals can go either direction and it moves the bike, and the handlebars are, stiff enough to stay straight, but also like stay in whatever angle that they're going to make it go in. And he's balancing on the bike. He's biking backwards. At one point, he bikes on one side in a high heel shoe. Like it's incredible what this guy is able to do on a bike. I I wish I was that skilled.
and then, yeah, in the trailer, there's places where the bike is moving on its own, or it looks like it's moving on its own. There's no person on it. It's
I don't actually know how they
astonishing.
do it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. There's also a lot of props. You've got the desk, the paper airplanes, the puppets, the moving pictures, papers flying around in midair, just coming out of nowhere. All this is used to create this magical imaginary world. Is there something in the show that just blows your mind and makes you go, how do they do that? And they actually have somebody who's in charge of like a magic aspect of the show, right?
Yeah, so they had somebody who was working as far as like teaching them and creating these magic tricks. And then there is a puppeteer to, pass the actor on stage various things and to move things around. But I think my favorite part is that like the desk almost becomes a character that this main actor is connecting with, and the desk starts responding to him and not disagreeing with him and opening when he closed it, and it becomes this little like relationship between this inanimate object that's been animated, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, remarkable. The themes of the show are about life and the importance of family history. As I understand it, the bike is literally used as a metaphor. It's like being on this life cycle. The play is wordless. The story is told through the props and the actions on stage. How are these themes presented for children in a way that they'll understand them?
I think one of the most beautiful things about like a wordless show is that there's a little bit more up for interpretation. So you might not always get the exact same thing as the person beside you, and it's going to be dependent on like your life experience and the way you view what's happening on stage, but you're still going to understand the essence of what's happening, and then it's the little bits that speak to you specifically that allow you to fill in that story and your experience of it. And I mean, like, parts of it are very clear. Parts of it you can tell, like, oh, like he's in the attic when he climbs up the stairs, and oh, like he's seeing these photos of his family and connecting with them. But what that means to him and how he reacts to that and how you're going to experience that and feel on the inside after that, that's going to depend on each kid that's seeing the show and each adult too.
Mm-hmm. Aside from the broader issues of life and family history, can you talk about some of the smaller plot points that happen in the play?
Yeah, I mean, it's all very like big and metaphorical. And then there's more of these little things that happen within it and within what he's sort of discovering. And so there's some connection with his mother and trying to figure out who she is. There's some plot points about like himself as a young person versus who he is now and experience like in looking at that journey. There's, trying to figure out where to go from here. So it's there's little tiny, experiences that build to create the larger story and the larger themes of, your family history and your life and who you are and where you fit into everything.
Yeah, that larger narrative. I say this every time we talk about MTYP's plays, but Life Cycle really does work for both children and their parents. Kids will be fully captivated by the magic that is happening on stage. As an adult, does Life Cycle get you thinking about questions about yourself as well as an adult?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're all going to have a different experience of the show based on who we are and where we are in life and the way we view family history. And, if you have a really strong connection to, your ties and your ancestry, or if you are missing some of that and how that's going to alter your view of it. I think that because it's so well crafted, there's going to be something for everyone, that you're going to connect to things differently, that just depending on who you are and whether you're a kid or whether you're an adult, and you're still going to be amazed by the magic of it. Because even as an adult myself, I look at it and I go, how did they do that? And I know theater magic. I know how theater magic works, and I still don't understand how they're doing some of it.
Yeah. For our listeners, there's plenty on stage to keep kids fully captivated. But yeah, there's just that aspect of just asking those questions. Judging by the trailer, lighting plays a big role in Life Cycle. How is it used in this production to create mood?
Oh, I mean, like, this production is dependent so much on the lighting. You have to keep the focus on specific areas. You have to keep that vibe that, like, they're in the attic when he's in the attic, and you have to open it up when he's, going everywhere. The whole show starts with a lightning storm. So that in of itself is sort of like the catalyst for this self-discovery journey that he goes on is this, storm of life.
Mm-hmm. This has been so wonderful to talk about Life Cycle. When we did the 2024-25 MTY season reveal in the spring, this is one play that I just said to myself, I have to see. What do you hope children will take away from it?
I hope that children will take away not just, the joy and the excitement of the magic and the metaphors, but also like really think about who they are and who their family is and what matters to them, even if it's not as deep of a question as like an adult might see that of like, what matters to me? But, recognizing the importance of who you are and knowing who you are.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think parents will take away from it?
Hopefully they'll take away a bit more of the joy of the magic and everything. I think we think about who we are and why we matter too much.
Mm-hmm. We were talking about this before I pressed the record button. The group isn't actually in town. Apparently they arrive today,
yep.
Right? Are there going to be school tours happening in addition to the Friday and weekend shows at MTYP?
Yeah, so we have the weekend shows are for the public, and then all week next week, and then the beginning of the week after, there's going to be schools booking that are going to come to the theater and see the show there. And
they come with their own lighting and sound guys, so it's just basically going from one venue to another for them?
They come with all their like sets and props and everything and their stage manager. We set up all the lights and we set up the rigging and stuff that we're going to bring the rigging things that they have to go in the sky in. And then, we have a technician that runs the show. And so it's like a bit of both, but they bring most of the things. Yeah.
Sarah, this has been great as always. Thanks so much for taking the time to stop by our Classic 107 studio to talk about Life Cycle. I am already looking forward to having you back to talk about Blue Beads and Blueberries. That starts at the end of February. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
For our Classic 107 listeners, Life Cycle is presented by MTYP and DynamO Theater, and Guilaume Doin starts this Friday, January 17th, and goes until Sunday, January 26th. For more details, visit mtyp.ca or go to classic107.com. I have embedded a direct link to the show page in the article about Life Cycle that is up there right now. Sarah, thanks again.
Thank you.